Hi,
Yes.
welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we're talking about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 12, Make It Fashion.
Yep.
Tough episode. Travis, as always, is our avatar at the table. But we begin with where we left off, basically. We get one step closer to confirmation that Imogen is 11.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how long it is before we see sort of vegetable mom.
I don't know. We also learned that the Loomis twins are presumed to have been the ones to rip the book.
Yes. Which may be accurate, or it could be a red herring.
Whether they ripped it or not, they checked it out.
Good morning.
And yes.
Morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
There's some overlap. We're seeing more overlap of the characters' personal story arcs.
Yeah.
This campaign.
Yeah, and it comes back to Matt really interweaving them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if... I haven't decided whether or not the players had a lot to do with that, or if what they gave Matt was loose enough for him to tie these threads behind the scenes.
I think the latter.
Okay.
Just in the way they have talked about coming up with backstories up to this point, they seem to be gravitating more towards Talison's philosophy of give the DM as much of a blank slate as possible.
I think Matt gave them a much more specific brief.
Okay.
This time. Which is why I think it feels a little more... Like, that's why I ask if it was in conjunction with the players or not. Because, like, there's too many to be total coincidence. For Matt to be weaving too many too early.
Yeah.
For it to be just, wow, that's... What a coincidence. I'm sort of taking a page out of Garrick's book. You know, I believe in coincidences, Doctor. However, I do not trust coincidences. In that sense. Dorian would love to style everybody.
Yeah. I was really hoping for something like with the when they did the winter looks, and I think it was Laura, like, figured out what and designed the outfits for it. I was really hoping for something like that.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about it, and they tried to get Matt to talk about everything in the store.
Well, Sam did.
Which is sort of the worst thing to do. For a number of reasons. One, it takes away any potential creative input from a player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm going to spend the next 40, 50, hour and 10 minutes describing every clothing rack in this store, it's a waste of everybody's time, and you don't get any input.
Yeah, I think it was done more of a troll than anything else. I don't think they were really expecting him to detail every outfit.
Yeah.
I think it was just Sam being Sam.
Yeah, Dorian probably should have dressed them, and I think Matt should have given them a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
About, if you guys are going to get dressed, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because it would have helped that process go faster. Because last time,
mm-hmm.
when Laura basically redesigned it, when she designed their Jorhassian outfits or whatever,
right,
they had a whole week.
Yeah.
To think about what they wanted to wear.
And the money.
Yeah. Chetney kind of lets Orem tips his hand and he's got a hit list.
Yeah.
Because Liam's like, that sounds loaded. When he's like, I got business there.
Yeah. Don't go there, they're swindlers. I have business there later.
Yeah.
When the weird extremist kid in school says, don't come to school tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. FCG talks about wanting feet, and they joke about getting him a flesh mask.
Yeah.
They
do have an actual discussion about he must be alive because they don't think you can turn inanimate things to living things.
Polymorph says target a creature.
Yep.
Doesn't say anything about humanoid or monstrosity. Just has to be a creature. And aormatons are creatures.
Yep.
So it's nice that they sort of went down that path of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Rose, I can only imagine what the fan art of that is. Yeah. Yeah. So I had an idea for a murder mystery that I don't want to get into because you're one of my regular players.
Right.
So if I use it, you'll know.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I am always impressed with Matt's grasp of fashion and fabric terminologies, and because very often he uses the proper name.
Well, yeah, and he actually dropped an Easter egg. The name of the designer, when he's like, "This is," I forget what the name is, but it's actually just the first name's a little bit of a variation, but it's basically a very famous burlesque person who designed robe dresses like the robe dress that it was.
Oh.
So that was an Easter egg to a burlesque actress who went into fashion. So
interesting. Yeah, see, I can get that way with weapons and armor, but not so much with clothes.
Yeah.
I've had a couple moments at the table where I have described a piece of clothing using terminology that I knew, and I had a player go, "What?" And then it was to Google to image search. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. But yeah. I love do they rent? Or will they rent? Yeah. The cringe. FCG is a table. And we got sort of like in retrospect, it's one of those in retrospect foreshadowing things.
Yeah.
Where FCG doesn't want to be the social distraction. He doesn't want to have the spotlight on him.
Yeah.
And later, when Imogen is reading his mind, and as Jangdor asked about the 2 damage, the psychic damage, this gets back to when Sam roleplayed the glitching.
Yep.
When they were asking about his past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Matt had in mind this damage before or after that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because Matt, we've seen that Matt is more than willing to impose mechanical effects on backstory stuff.
Yeah.
With Keg going up against the Oni.
Yeah.
She is
Lorenzo.
She is afraid. You have the frightened condition.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I think this is just another flavoring of that. But we'll talk more about that.
Rose like Caleb and Fire and
yeah, the his PTSD. And maybe Sam was just jealous that Liam got something like that, and maybe he wanted a bit of that. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, Liam played a rogue, then Sam played a rogue. Liam played someone with trauma, so now Sam's played someone with trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think FCG is afraid of becoming an experiment?
I think he's more afraid that he was an experiment. And what that means.
Right.
I mean, I can see him being afraid of being experimented on. Like, this episode, he gave me a lot of Johnny Five vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
Well, that makes me wonder how long it's going to be before we get a do not disassemble rant.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt finally is like, tell me what you want so we don't spend 2 hours, doing this. Cut to break time is 2 hours and 9 minutes in the episode. Yeah, funny. But Imogen gets some kind of shoulder enhanced dress.
Yes.
The
80s shoulder pad look.
Yeah. Where she was thinking almost Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Like points. Which, when Matt described it, that's also sort of where my head went. The sort of Fire Nation.
Yeah.
But yeah. Laudna gets taxidermied dress. Fox dress. Sleeveless dress for Chetney is what he's settled on instead of the expensive thing. Did anyone else think that what Matt described for Orem was an MC Hammer suit?
Yeah, that was totally the vibes that I got.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the parachute pants with the... Yeah, that was straight out of the Don't Touch This video.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad it's not just me, because I was like, that's MC Hammer.
That was 100%.
Okay, cool. I'm glad it's not just me. Ashton wants the Kryn outfit and gets one.
Why do you think he wanted a Kryn outfit?
So the in-universe reason that I can sort of logic my way into is Ashton wants to be edgelord, and Jorhas is edgelord capital,
Okay.
and so that's what he wants to wear. I think the real reason is Taliesin really, really liked all of the art of the Mighty Nine and Jorhassian attire.
Okay.
and wanted to see more of it.
Fair.
But yeah. Fern gets something to go over a lace dress that she already has, which is where Matt dropped the Easter egg.
Yep.
Fern is now FCG's owner.
Yeah. Taking kleptomania to a whole new level there.
Which I'm wondering if Ashton's attempt to steal the sword later was prompted by that. Or if it just brought up that this is what they do. They're just going to steal from each other.
No, I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Starts with the Pachyderm earring, and I think that's just going to be an ongoing thing.
Like Vax and Grog nut punching each other.
Yep. Ball tag.
Yeah. We have a triggering of FCG and associates.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a trigger word for him. And Jangdor brings up another point about the theory that FCG killed his former group.
Yeah. I'm not sure that that's right.
I don't think that's right either. I think it was a Nothic.
Okay.
We talked about that originally we were like, well, Beholder, it's got a big eye.
Yeah.
And if you're sort of coming out of, that might be the thing you focus on. But a Nothic goes very well with an Aormaton.
Yeah.
And FCG might be Dancer. And here's why I say that.
Okay.
Or Dancer's soul may be in FCG.
Okay.
Because he was coming out of stasis, and they were in a place where a Nothic was. So, and the first thing he remembers them locking eyes.
Right.
And he's getting the psychic damage about when she tries to dig into his memory.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt says, you don't see the memory.
Yeah. The words are clearer than the vision you're seeing.
Yeah. So it's almost like overwritten.
Yeah.
And FCG, like whatever's inside him, doesn't want to confront the reality.
Interesting. I don't know that I buy it, but it's interesting.
The other possibility is that everyone who thinks that FCG killed Dancer and his whole group, maybe the Nothic is in FCG.
Yeah. And until they went into the memory, I kind of had in the back of my head that Ashton and his group had killed them, and he just decided to keep FCG.
Yeah. Widow guests by transformation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It opens up a whole thing in world building that they have that spell.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Well, it opens up a whole thing in plot devices. Because you'd be tracking down a tiefling, but then they use this spell and now they're an elf.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. They find an ever-smoking bottle, a healing potion, which FCG later identifies with his once-a-day identify.
Yep.
As also granting poison resistance.
Yeah.
Which...
Does that mean he took the Mystic Conflicts feat out of the new... No, he couldn't have, because he did 2+1, I thought.
No, I think that's just... It might be just an ability that an automaton can get.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, having a research assistant who can do that once a day is pretty handy.
Yeah.
And that's something that Aeorian wizards, engineers would have engineered into their automatons. I don't think we'll be bringing anyone back from campaign 2. I don't even think we'll be bringing anyone back from campaign 1.
Both of them have it in their spell book, and presumably, at least possibly Luke probably hasn't learned it, but has probably been told about it. I mean, there's a possibility that any number of people could have it.
Yeah.
Could have been traded for information or other spells,
Yeah.
Copy this, so.
And the answer to your question, Rose, about them sharing the spell, the answer is no. Or most likely not. Most, and Taldora, Exandria is no different, but most DMs draw wizards like alchemists. Their research is encoded. They don't share unless they're getting something in return.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's the big book of spells that you can go pick up.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I recommend if a player is playing a wizard, they get a full spell book filled out.
Yeah.
Whatever spells they're going to take at their level up, they have that in a book already.
Yeah.
They can, of course, prepare spells that they can't prepare, but it reinforces the notion that
the only catch that gets into is like when you hit 3rd level and you can finally cast 2nd level spells, and at 4th level you would get 2 more 2nd level spells. Which 2 unlock for you and which 2 have to wait? Or do you just get them all at 3rd level?
No. So I'm doing this with my daughter right now in the game that we play on Monday nights. She has an inherited enduring spellbook. And I think there's only like 4 blank pages in it.
Okay.
And every level, she can look at those spells and she can add them to her character sheet based upon what she's getting. So if she's getting, like, she just got 3rd level spells, they just hit 5th level.
Okay.
So she wrote 2 3rd level spells off that list. And she doesn't have to spend the gold or do any research because it's there. She's had it. She's had this book. She's been reading it. It's just a way of helping narratively the mechanics of the wizard. Because every level, they get 2 spells.
Yeah.
That they can add to their spell book. But, like, if they don't already have those spells or access to that research, it sort of strains credulity. Like,
yeah, but it's also strange credulity that I've got these 4 spells in my book of this level, but I'm only able to prepare 2 of those, even though they're all the same. What's the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
because if they're already in the spell book and I can prepare spells at that level, I should be able to prepare any of those spells.
And what I've told her is she hasn't practiced them, as it were. She hasn't quite perfected them. They're in this resource, but she hasn't perfected them. And it's the same that if she wants to learn additional spells other than the 2, she still has to pay the gold cost to learn the spell. But to add it to her spell sheet on her character sheet, she's got to pay the gold. Or take the level.
And the time.
Yeah. So, yeah. That was a long tangent.
The only one I don't see Caleb sharing it, but I do see Essek trading it for illicit knowledge.
Yeah.
I think he would gladly do that without a hesitation.
Yeah.
And then once it's out to a few people, who knows how much they're willing to trade or train.
If you want to know how fast that spell permeates the world, compare it to the proliferation of...
Yep, yeah. Exactly what I was just thinking.
Yes, Jangdor, exactly. Exactly. Fern steals the egg from the Jungle Witch, which we find out later in the episode is an arcane focus.
Yeah, Blood Will Vial.
Yeah.
And ironically, she puts it back. Well, it's not, but change of, pace unexpectedly. Because even she wasn't going to do it originally. She was going to put something else there like, oh, that's a fair trade.
Yeah. Although I think it has more to do with the fact that her friends are talking about befriending this friend. And thus far, Fern hasn't tried to steal from anybody who didn't first steal it from her. So I think she saw that as sort of stealing from a friend. She didn't want to do that. And when she stole it, I don't think she knew it was magical.
Oh, no, she didn't. She just randomly grabbed.
And she, I think, really doesn't mind stealing something that's worth, 25, maybe 50 gold. But something that's a magic item that's worth a lot of money, I don't think she wants that. Especially because stealing something of that value is going to draw heat. So, yeah. I feel like the healing potion that gives the poison resistance is a little old school video game or like specifically designing an item for upcoming content.
Yeah.
And like Colbert called it out in the Red Nose special when he finds, I can't remember what exactly it was off the top of my head, but he finds something and he says, you know, I bet that's going to be important later.
Yeah.
And that's like, maybe. And turns out it was, spoiler. But yeah. I think it's absolutely hilarious that now, 12 episodes in, the cast are worried about components or foci. And I'm wondering if Matt had a talk with them.
I don't know. I think it's more likely that they just got inspired by Liam paying so much attention to it.
Well, if that's the case, they would have started off doing it. They would have integrated that into their style of roleplay.
Matt hasn't been a stickler yet. What made him become one all of a sudden?
Well, in campaign 2, he said up front on stream, this campaign, you guys are going to have to pre-purchase all of your components that cost money.
And then didn't require that.
He stuck to it for a while, then sort of fell by the wayside. And the fact that 2 of them were clerics, so they just had their holy symbol, and that's all they need. But yeah, it made me laugh. And it's an interesting take from FCG, from Sam, going for the components rather than a holy symbol.
Yeah.
Because usually most clerics go for the holy symbol because it's easier.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that to further divorce FCG from the faith cleric,
yeah,
this is a totally different kind of cleric, so he's going to use components.
Yeah.
And I was trying to rack my brain about what the glass eye, what spell the glass eye is from. And I didn't have time to scour every spell in 5e, but I think it's clairvoyance.
Yeah.
But the clay ziggurat that such a big deal was made of is for tongues.
Yep.
The copper wire is message sending.
Mm-hmm.
Incense. There are several spells that use incense.
Yep.
I think only 1 or 2 of them. It's not a gold cost. Most of the spells that require incense require a gold cost amount that the spell consumes. Find familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Legend lore.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
Divination.
Yeah.
The spell divination, not the school.
Yeah. Cork. See, I thought I had a spell.
Isn't that water walk?
I think so. And then there's another one that uses burned cork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeweled horn for hearing or a glass eye for seeing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I kind of appreciate that he's buying components. I think Matt should have just gone, 50 gold, you get a component pouch, rather than sort of piecemealing it out.
Yeah.
Just because it's easier to do that. But on the other side of that is we as the audience get to know what components he's buying.
Yeah.
And go, it's that spell, right? So in that sense, it's fun for us on that side. So can't really complain. But yeah, it just was funny. And the other funny thing about that scene was when they were like, she's an orphan, and Taliesin getting upset and basically giving we're D&D PCs, we're all orphans.
Yeah.
Or half orphans. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah. And from a personal standpoint, the other funny thing, and it's just because of what I do for a living, the tax person's nightmare box of papers. That's just billable hours, people. So it's not that big of a nightmare. You bring a mess like that to your tax preparer, they're going to bill you for it. And you're going to pay for it. So, piece of advice. Hashtag not legal advice.
No, it's accounting advice.
Well, do you think Marwa telling them to GTFO is into something? Because she's like, I eat alone, get out. But the next time Laudna comes in and gives her a pastry, she eats with her.
I mean, it could be. What do you think?
I have a feeling she is in some way connected to the broomstone smuggling. It's no accident that a ship fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
And she's an artificer of some kind. At least that's my interpretation of her presentation. It makes total sense that she is trying to get it to fly again so that she can leave this town. Because what has it ever done for her?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the steam whistle was just whatever timing mechanism she has, whatever clock, it was just an alarm.
Yeah.
And it's like, she recognized that it's getting close to the time. Now you guys got to go. So, yeah, I think we will be seeing her again. And not just because Laudna wants to be friends.
Yeah.
Which, given her proclivity with the Nightmare King, means she has very poor taste. Which makes you wonder how dark Imogen is. Which we get a hint at with the kid. So...
Yeah. Well, I gotta say this, though. Each campaign, they're getting less violent towards children. Campaign 1, they actually killed kids. Campaign 2, they attacked them with the frog demon. Campaign 3, they're just threatening them telepathically. By campaign 6, they'll love kids. They'll all be kids in the party.
Yeah. I mean, they've got extra cast members that are parents now.
There you go.
So that tends to change the volume of dead baby jokes that people tell. Oh, we get Sam's highlighting again for us his love of acronyms and secret messages in his naming conventions. Pre-stream, he gave us the shits.
Yep.
And now we got DPD.
DPB.
B, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, which was from campaign 2, Dick in the Peanut Butter.
Yeah.
And I think it clicked in my head, and I had the same expression that Liam did as soon as he said that. Like, before he even said the initials, he's just like, and Liam and I were both just like, oh my God, really?
Mine wasn't immediate. It was like the second or third time somebody said something like, wait a minute. But, I mean, Liam and Sam are best friends, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. They continue to dance around adopting the moniker of Vox Machina.
Yeah.
They're getting closer to it, though. This time, at least, they joked about Mighty Nine.
Yeah.
But they went back to, let's take a name in honor of Bell. So they're do-si-doing around the eventual point of will be Vox Machina.
Yeah.
Right, Rose? Right, exactly. Exactly. We get them returning to the Loomis twins.
The house, yeah.
And looking through their room. And with a 15, found nothing.
Yep.
Does that, if you're at the table and the DM says that, is that the rule? You don't really find anything. Do you think there's nothing there, or do you think we need to come back and roll again?
I don't.
Given that a 7 gave Imogen all of the information that she got at the library.
Okay, so for me, I don't do either of those things.
Okay.
I accept that my character in that moment did their best and believes that there's nothing there to find. But as a player, I think I needed to get higher. There's something here. But I don't like, oh, let's go back and look again.
Okay.
Because in my brain, the character, whatever you rolled,
has reached that conclusion.
You did your best in that moment, and you've reached that conclusion. There's nothing there. So the character would move forward. Hey, there was nothing there. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. We get the mention of the Dusk Matron.
Yes.
The Raven Queen's moniker here on Marquette. And the first acknowledgement by Imogen and Orem about fate playing a role in what they're doing.
Yep.
Which is why... So, do you think that conversation and the acknowledgement of the matron's role in what they're going through is what prompted Imogen's dream? Or do you think it was being in the twins' room?
I think it was being in the twins' room.
Okay.
I'm still not convinced she's necessarily connected to the Raven Queen.
Okay. I am.
I know this.
Yeah, we'll see. It sort of depends on whether or not.
I mean, it's a solid possibility. I'm just not sure, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's still as much possibility it's from the fallout of the Cognosa thing as it is the Raven Queen.
Except it can't really be Cognosa because her mother. Her mother's involvement would have predated Cognosa.
Right. Well, that doesn't mean that there weren't other people looking to access Cognosa in some way. Much like Lucian had been, and I forget her name, the doppelganger lady had been.
True.
And since it's on the astral plane, you don't have to go to Aor to try and access it.
True. Yeah, that's fair. We get a small bit from Liam chatting with Fern and Dorian to some extent.
Yeah, they kind of wake Dorian up and he joins the convo about her social status.
Yeah, and we get the first insight check from him when she says, yeah, we're basically royalty.
I mean, we're not in the courts, but, you know.
I enjoyed the hell out. It was that scene vignette, whatever you want to term it, is one of the reasons why I love Fern and Ashley the way that she plays her. Because in some ways, you can sort of see shades of Grog in the way that she interprets Fern's low intelligence. Because if you think about it, are you worried about him? No. Is very much Grog.
Yeah, I can see that. I hadn't thought of that before you mentioned it, but I just, you know, how many enemies do you have? How do you define enemies? People that want to kill you. I'd say a lot. Should we be worried about this? Yeah, my guess is no.
So good.
It's just, I want to have trust in anything as much as Ashley had trust in the dice when she decided to make Fern a klepto with a +1 to her sleight of hand.
Well, I mean, of all of the players at that table, Ashley has the most success at Babe Ruthing her dice.
Yeah.
Of calling the shot.
I'm just saying.
So, yes.
And then that faith in the dice for that is just kind of spilled over into the rest of her personality. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. We got Chance on our side.
Yeah, which is very Faye.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get a crafting montage of masks.
Yes.
Where Orem and Chetney bond. Because Orem apparently is proficient with carpenter's tools.
Yep.
Dorian gets his ship.
Yes.
which everyone at the table was like, So it makes me wonder, did Travis commission?
I'm thinking he did.
You think so? For everyone? Like
either commissioned or ordered things, and as they get here I finished this one. Here I finished this one.
Yeah?
I'm a little afraid to see when he gives Laudna her.
Yeah. Yeah. We might have... That might be the first time they have to pixelate anything on Critical Role.
Good thing it's pre-recorded.
Yes. Yeah. Could be maybe. That assumes he's commissioned the same person, which maybe he has.
Yeah. And who knows? He may have them all now. He's just handing them out one at a time to simulate, I'm working on this project. Now I'm working on this project.
Yeah. That's true. But, like, from a flow perspective and ordering, I would want to parse them out.
Yeah, and they may be. But I'm saying, we don't
Which
know.
would also be more... Well, no, that's not entirely true.
And
but they do tend to spread it out.
Filmed a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
So.
Which kind of reminds me of the days when they used to open...
Yeah, the Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. Eshtaros is like... I've got passes for 2 groups. We can go as 2 groups. Some of you with me, some of you with a noble, which we will invent. And they say, we don't have to invent one, we've got one. Which Orem super not happy about.
Yeah.
Like he recognizes, as everyone else mentioned, he's actually a noble. He's the best one to do it, but he is not happy.
Yeah.
At the risk that he is putting his family in. The sort of flip side to that is we don't know if his brother has been using a fake name. And judging by his reaction to Dorian's fake name, he probably hasn't been.
Right.
So their family is already exposed.
Yeah.
Potentially to the machinations within Drusar.
Yeah. Well, through the brother, but Dorian using his real name. I think the thing that mainly concerned Orem is what if the people looking over his brother, this guy's this, now we can go after him to get to the brother.
Well, that cat's already out of the bag because of their conversation with the bounty hunter.
True.
But again, she's hiding from somebody for some reason.
Yeah.
And Laudna and Imogen's sort of peak of worry and then terror for their landlady. Like, could we have brought someone here by mistake? My God, is she dead? She's old.
It's hard to tell if she's sleeping or dead. She doesn't have a head.
I love that sequence so much. Matt really knows when to be very sparse with his descriptions and allow the players' imaginations to run away.
Yeah, and he loves to put in little qualifier words that puts it in doubt. Like, appears to be. Yeah. Or like Dallison said, I like the way you snuck that official in there. The official take is...
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, also, I loved out on the boat that it was the SS Bronte, because Bronte is Dorian's real name.
Yeah. So we talked about, in the last episode, episode 11, about FCG not being the best empathetic person.
Mm-hmm.
And we got another taste of that here near the end of this episode, when Laudna says, I don't want to cause undue trauma. And Sam says, then don't look at anyone. And for me, the poison pill for this party, for the ball, happens here at the end when they're talking to Estros. And Dorian says, I will be the noble, will use my real name. Mm-hmm. He counters his advice to everyone when they were shopping earlier in the episode. And he says, the best way to feel yourself, to not get found out in a situation like this, is to wear something that's still you.
Yep.
And what does he do? He goes to Estros's box to pick out a mask. He goes upstairs to the bedroom, to the armoire, picks out a suit,
mm-hmm.
takes his mask and clothes that he was going to, his chiffon, clothes that he was going to wear, and throws them in the closet. So he's literally putting himself back in the closet.
Yeah.
Well, Rose, yeah, the ring switcheroo is doomed to failure.
Yeah.
Because
I'm just thinking Skyrim. When you go into that one town and join the Thieves Guild, you have to steal the ring from the one guy and then go plant it on the other guy. And I'm just like... But they're planting a different ring on the guy they're taking the ring from.
It's not impossible to do something like that. There are videos of magicians and other sleight of hand artists, con men, doing that kind of thing. Watches.
Yeah.
Although watches, I think, are easier than rings.
Yeah.
Because rings, people can just curl their fingers, or naturally, when your hand's at rest, your fingers tend to curl a little bit.
Yeah.
So pulling it off is harder. Yeah, I think the best plan was hinted at by Liam, which is get him blackout drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Because Estros said there are accommodations at this place for people who get too drunk.
Yep.
They don't have anyone on the team that has the same potential to outdrink Armand, because Armand is a dwarf, which means he's rolling at advantage for all those con saves against the liquor.
Yeah.
Now Armand is a dwarf, so he knows how much liquor it's going to take to get him drunk, and if he wants to get drunk, they can help it along. But
of course, and now you're kind of wasting the healing part of the healing potion.
Yeah. But yeah, get him drunk. He passes out. You find out what room he's in. You break into the room. You switch the rings while he's unconscious. He never knows. There's no potential, as Dorian points out. The worst case is death.
Yeah.
Because at a party when I was growing up, we had some people break in that weren't supposed to be there, causing trouble, and the guards killed them immediately.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they do the intelligence gathering and they press Armand for the alcohol. And maybe Ashton, maybe his mask, being like the Nightmare King, can prove to have the same effect on Armand as Scaglieri's mask in Amadeus.
Yeah, that's true.
Where he essentially scares Mozart to death.
I think Ashton has the best con, but only one less at 17 is Bronte, Dorian.
Yeah.
So if Dorian takes the potion, rolling at advantage, +3 con.
Yeah.
Because it's more likely he'll engage in a drinking contest with the noble than with the random entourage.
Yes, that's true. But they can also get that with enhanced ability.
True.
I don't know if they're going to look out of place, though, Rose. I have a feeling if this is a masquerade ball, there's going to be several people going towards the horrific.
I think what's going to happen is Ashton is going to draw looks both from people who have heard nightmare stories or bad experiences with the Nightmare King, and people who probably know who it was and know what they were working on and what is this guy's connection to this other guy that we had a hand in.
Maybe why he chose the Jorhassian outfit.
Yeah. Yeah?
To enhance the I'm from out of town.
Yeah.
To help ease that, if he is particularly out of place with his horrific mask, that, he's from Jorhas.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I can't wait to see Laden at the ball.
Yeah. Well, I'm most interested in Imogen because it's going to be hell for her.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be my thing is my feelings towards Laudna are the same as the critter population in general was towards Jester. She's just the runaway hit for me. Like, everything about her, I'm just...
Well, based on fan art in the galleries, it's the same for everybody. For sure. But we'll see what happens this Thursday.
Yep.
We will see you guys next Tuesday. We're going to talk about episode 13. Probably named The Ball or something at the ball. Ballroom Blitz.
There you go.
We'll see you guys.